Ladies and gentlemen, here's the difference between the Republican and Democratic parties. Paul Manafort. So President Trump and Manafort won a huge victory. Why? Because they're still going after Manafort after he was pardoned. He never worked with Russia. He never bought Facebook ads. There was no Trump-Russia collusion. They found nobody, no evidence, no money trail, no communication, no emails, no nothing between Trump, any of his associates, including Manafort, and Russian intelligence operatives. The whole thing was a fabricated setup. That's obvious. That's why we have the Durham Probe Special Counsel now. That's why William Barr and John Durham both stated they believed there was possible criminal activity when Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, and others set up and framed President Trump. But here you have New York Times, Manafort can't be prosecuted after Trump pardon, New York court rules. The Washington Post, New York court won't revive Paul Manafort's fraud case, ending prosecutors' bid to sidestep Trump's pardon. Reuters, ex-Trump aide Manafort cannot be prosecuted in New York following pardon. The Guardian, Manafort can't be prosecuted in New York due to double jeopardy court rules. Okay. So, Yahoo News, New York's High Court ends state case against Paul Manafort. They're still going after Manafort. Want to know the difference? Republicans are going after Trump. Liz Cheney wants an investigation, a criminal probe even, of Trump's role in Washington weeks back. He didn't tell anyone to do anything. Then you have a Mother Jones article, or they're on social media. I do not have Twitter. I do not have Facebook. I haven't had Twitter for 2 years. I've told everyone to get off of Twitter. Okay, the best thing that ever happened to President Trump was that he was banned from Twitter. But you can look and see what's going on, so you don't have to be on social media to actually see what those platforms, what's happening. Mother Jones has an article. Others, oh yeah, or there's like this video, like, yeah, they're interviewing people who were at D.C. for the protests and people who are at the Capitol, and they're interviewing them, and they're saying, yeah, we did what Trump told us to do. And they, of course, the quotes are all manipulated. And Trump never told you to engage in any illegal activity. None of these people were told by Trump or anyone in Trump's White House or administration to go commit a horrendous illegal act that was not the main issue is the loss of life. 5 people, okay, including like the unarmed woman who lost her life. She was unarmed. Notice how the left doesn't care about that. And God bless her family and the families of the officer and the other people who lost their lives. They're grieving now. It should never have happened. But a lot of the people who went into that building, listened to message boards, had nothing to do with Trump. There were even reports of illegal activity taking place a day before the tragedy that happened. So how is that Trump's fault? They're trying to paint President Trump. Liz Cheney's going after Trump. The Georgia Republican Party now, or Republicans in Georgia, I should say, are going after Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel because this is the reason. I'm telling you, nobody's talking about this. Hit subscribe to this channel. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers. Go to hagoodman.com. You can read my writing on The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, The Daily Caller. Also, if you want to support my voice to my new Patreons, thank you so very, very much. I can't tell you, it's extremely important for people who enjoy my voice. My Patreon is below if you want to support my voice long term. It's below in the pinned comment description and on hagoodman.com. Nobody's talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. When people say, that's it, we have no more country, they get away with everything, they can use servers with top secret intelligence, literally hiding communication from the United States government and the American people. Clinton had servers for 4 years, nobody cares. Comey himself, the FBI director, wasn't even suspicious. They're going after Manafort for financial crimes that Democrats commit all the time and get away with. They said, oh, he had expensive suits. And Manafort was literally working with people associated, the family members of Clinton's campaign chairman. Literally was working with Democrats, doing the same, but he got caught being too close to President Trump or within President Trump's inner circle. So they went after him. They couldn't find what they were looking for, so they got retribution. Democrats are able to get retribution and set up and frame President Trump. He did not work with Russia. They undermined confidence in the elections. They undermine our democracy, our traditions and norms by refusing to transfer power in a peaceful manner. I was talking about this when it first happened. When President Obama investigated his direct political rival, or Clinton's direct political rival, utilizing his intelligence agencies. So, to think that President Obama was removed from this, that's like Democrats, their world is not the world that they view. Their value system is that, Trump asks for loyalty. Well, President Obama got his administration to investigate Clinton's direct political rival and his political rival in Trump. No, he had nothing to do with it. There was no loyalty oath there. And then now you have Biden getting a whole new Secret Service detail because he's afraid of people still loyal to Trump. But he didn't ask for loyalty. It's different. They create and fabricate this world, okay? But they're able to get away with it. They're able to have two standards of justice. Clinton can get away with things. Democrats can get away with things that Trump and Republicans not only can't, but if they don't have anything on Trump or other Republicans associated with Trump, they just fabricate and make things up. And these tinfoil hat fantasies, Trump worked with Russia. Why? Because James Clapper said so. He's highly to moderately confident. Oh, the Senate is confident. The Senate confirmed the intelligence community's assessment based on high confidence, which means nothing. Which means that a whole bunch of people confirmed an opinion. And concluded the opinion was correct. There was no fact. There's no evidence of anything. These were baseless allegations, but they were bolstered by media, intelligence operatives, and government, and the Democratic Party. So in their minds, it's no longer baseless. If they make tinfoil hat, absurd, nonsensical, irrational claims, Trump worked with Russia, he was in a hotel room, it's fine as long as a whole bunch of other people say it, because that's the left works on peer pressure. But here, I'm trying to tell you, there's a double standard because of the Republican Party. Do not blame Democrats. 7 minutes in, if you've lasted this long. Don't blame the Democratic Party, Schumer. Don't blame Pence. Don't blame any individual Republican. It's not Mitt Romney's fault, actually. It's not. Don't blame the Democratic Party. Blame the Republican Party in general. The leadership of the Republican Party, it's like trying to herd cats. They don't have one voice. They don't speak with one voice. Democrats speak with one voice. And that voice resonates with a singular laser focus vendetta or retribution or like when they want to protect their political party, to protect their politicians, to utilize political operatives to do their bidding, when they want media to foment and spew their nonsense, and they want social media to help them also, and they want every conceivable possible advantage, Hollywood, they have all of Twitter, when they want one narrative, it filters through even to the Medicare for All pundits who say, gosh, now, not now. We can't have Medicare for All now. It's one type of mentality, and that's it. Generally, there's a pushback. This is the important point I've been trying to make for the past couple of weeks. And because of social media algorithms, the YouTube algorithm, I can't really, maybe I have to be even more long-winded than usual, but there's no pushback in the Republican Party because there's not an opposition vantage point. You have Republicans who side with Democrats. You have Republicans like Mitch McConnell who are silent most of the time. Or Lindsey Graham who's like, gosh, Lindsey Graham's like, wherever the political winds take me. I don't know if I can do that, do a Lindsey Graham, but they're petrified of media. But they're petrified of media because there's no opposition to media because they won't oppose the media narrative, because they're afraid. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're petrified of negative media coverage, but they bolster the negative media coverage by refusing to take a stand on things. So the past couple of months, for example, on a topic I will definitely not talk about, there could have been discussion, debate, discourse. You could have gone on, if you're President Trump, you go to MSNBC and CNN and state your case there. Go have a back and forth with Anderson Cooper. Or if you're Trump's administration, go on CNN and MSNBC and every platform you could think of before you were banned from those platforms. Not Twitter, but before you couldn't talk. Now you can't talk about it, but there should have been discourse, not protests. There was nothing good that came from those protests. Now you have publications saying, oh, well, we interviewed the people at the Capitol. Yeah, they're all facing legal problems. The FBI is after them. They're all the focus of criminal investigations. What do you think they're going to say? Well, Trump told us to go to DC. He didn't tell anyone to do anything. People went because they saw, left-leaning organizations have been protesting for 6 months. They were protesting for a good cause. Yes, of course, ending police brutality. Unfortunately, 19 people lost their lives. That's a tragedy and a horror that nobody talks about. $1 to $2 billion in property damage. People's livelihoods were burnt to the ground. Police buildings were set ablaze. CNN didn't care. They said, oh, well, it's fiery but peaceful. They didn't correlate the words of left-leaning politicians. There was a horrendous atrocity and tragedy with Dallas police officers. Okay, this was in 2016. When they were gunned down by a person who is said to have been motivated by one left-leaning organization. And the Dallas police chief stated that was payback. That the atrocity and the horrendous crime that took place in 2016, you can just look it up right now. They said, the police chief said, payback. 5 Dallas officers were murdered as payback, police chief says. This is the New York Times. The man who did this was trying to basically, look, you can read. I'm not going to talk about it because it's again, you can't even talk about anything, but New York Times, 5 Dallas police officers, kills payback, a police chief says. So you look at what the police chief, he was saying that they lost their lives in part because of rhetoric. No organization was blamed for that. No politician was blamed for that. Yet the political climate was such where some person who believed he was a vigilante said, "I'm going to take the lives of innocent officers." Is anyone blaming the social media posts of the organizations that the police chief said influenced the alleged vigilante? Okay, or the murderer? No one is saying that. But Trump, his words caused those people because they're mindless. And this is the thing. This is an arrogant way of looking at Trump supporters. These are people, mindless people. They're just a bunch of, country bumpkins. They just don't know anything. Gosh, they wanted to take over the government. They don't know much. It's just Trump and his words. His words. I mean, you have to understand when he says things, people have no ability to differentiate right and wrong, especially his supporters. They don't know anything. They're toothless. Probably, had moonshine with them and stormed the building and, they don't know much. They care. Just like Jonathan Swan, who tried to ambush Trump, and your supporters really care about what you say. Yeah, not really. Yes, like any politician. You think that AOC isn't worshipped by many on the left? Of course. Politicians are like rock stars to a lot of people. Not me, but more so on the left. You see, like, books. You go to the news. You go to the bookstore nowadays. The bookstores that are left, it's like hanging and relaxing and voyaging with President Obama. Oh, look at this book. Oh, this is so great. You think they're going to do that with Trump? President Trump and Melania? No, they're trying to erase him from history. It would be like a voyage to Hades with Trump. Ah. You know, a book of horror. And any books on Trump, it's like, yeah, look at this. Well, this is how much we despise Trump. You know, Hollywood explains how much they have utter contempt for Trump. This is a 700-page book. So, but they're trying to say that, they're so impressionable. And, Trump, and then they interview people who are in legal trouble and say, well, he did what he told us to do. His words are protected under the First Amendment. He did not instruct anyone, nor did he tell anyone to do anything. And then they say, well, he said that this is what happens. Yeah, you want to know how many Democrats said, well, yeah, unrest takes place when there's injustice. There's people thought there was an injustice politically. You're equating the same thing. It wasn't the same thing. Yeah, I know. There's two different. Police brutality, infinitely more important issue than what was being protested that day in D.C. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, in politics, you have conservatives viewing things differently from liberals, and vice versa. It doesn't matter if you burn a building under, like, first of all, the people who committed violence during the left-leaning protests they almost always weren't doing so because of altruism. They're doing so because, like anyone who commits violence, even the people in the Capitol, anyone who commits violence during a protest does so for the sick euphoria of it. It's a thing. It's a power trip. It's a mob. People get consumed by a mob. So the people who went in did not realize. They were never told, nor did they. What they did, the loss of life was the most important thing, but what they did was a political catastrophe for the Trump Republicans. A political catastrophe. Now Democrats they tighten the vice. You can't even talk about things. And so, like, the censorship and suppression's gone to a new level now, because now they can paint Trump supporters and Trump as even greater monsters than they already did for the past 4 years. So now, not only did they work with Russia and they spoke to supremacists and everything, but they also tried to rebel. They tried to take over the government. It's just like 20 years ago with the towers. Oh my God, it's just like that. You gave Democrats who think that Trump is the reincarnation of 1930s and 1940s Germans, you gave the people who went into the Capitol, gave Democrats the ability to even become even more removed from reality. And so you have this situation where Republicans don't speak with one voice. They're all over the place. It's partly President Trump's fault. Not the Capitol, but not what happened, the tragedy that took place in D.C., not directly his fault, but my God almighty, the past couple months, he did not create a discourse or dialogue or discussion. Okay? Even Newsmax now is like, run so far away from it, it's like, they won't touch you with a 10-foot pole now. And so, you could have done a million different things to create discourse instead of going on Twitter. And they got Trump in a trap, and he fell for that trap the past 2 years of his presidency, 3 years. And definitely the past couple of months. You need dialogue, discourse, debate, discussion. If you have to take it to them, then you do so. You go to MSNBC and CNN, you speak. Trump should have had a direct conversation. He should have just calmed down instead of, There are things he could have told Jonathan Swan, and then the left turned that into a meme. Oh my God, look what he said. He said, it's like he could have advisors there. You could have had Peter Navarro. You could have had others. You could have had Richard Grenell. You could have had people who are capable of communicating what is perceived by the left as controversial vantage points in an intelligent, thoughtful manner. You could have had Devin Nunes or Rand Paul or Ron Johnson, but there has to be leadership to tell these people to say, look, go on these channels. This is either the bullet points you need to talk about, explain issues. Rand Paul did it with George Stephanopoulos, and he could have even done a better job. But there has to be discourse. There was no discourse. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. The reason that this is happening, that there's the playing field is not level, is because you have Republicans who don't want a level playing field. In 2022, that all changes. Trump Republicans take over the House, and it's game over for Democrats.